I wonder if it kind of seems like trust is like the past, like what I've seen, and faith is like what I can't see.
Oh, yeah.
I like that.
Hey everybody, welcome to the Hill City Podcast. We're so excited to have you. I'm Karen, and I'm joined by Stephen Washington.
Hello.
The Stephen Washington.
What?
And my wonderful husband, Andy Andrews.
Yoo-hoo.
That's right.
You can cheer yourself.
Hype
man.
yourself
Listen,
up.
Cheer.
listen.
I am a wonderful
As David
husband.
says, I'll encourage. Listen, I'm encouraging myself.
I love it.
And to start off, we're going to be talking about faith and trust today. So, can you think of a time where you have trusted someone and then found out you maybe should have not trusted them?
100%. 100%. I still bring this up.
Would you like to elaborate?
I can. I still bring this up with this individual because it was the one person I should have been able to trust. My father.
I was like, your
Oh,
dad?
no.
Yeah. So, my dad, being a former Marine and different training he had to go through, he was a fantastic swimmer. Fantastic swimmer. Could hold his breath for long periods of time. Just fantastic. And one day we're at the pool, and he's like, "Today's the day you're gonna learn how to swim." And so I just think, but what I've observed about my dad,
Right.
I'm about to become really good today.
Yeah.
on swimming. Like, I'm going to be really good today. And so we walk to the outside of the pool. He's like, "All right, today you're going to learn how to swim. Don't worry. It's going to be great. I got you." He picks me up, just throws me into the deep end of the pool.
Oh, my goodness.
So as I'm there, like first grade, flailing, sinking gradually to the bottom of the pool, I can hear my mom, and it's kind of muffled, but I hear her just, "You're drowning my baby." And my dad,
making my
whose
stomach hurt.
feet I can see, is just standing, watching me go to the bottom of the pool. And then eventually, as I lie there, I don't think I can swim, he picks me up, sets me on the side of the pool. I was like, "I bet you figure out how to swim now." I was like, "No, in fact, Dad, I did not." I did not. And I sat on the side of the pool for the next few hours. Like, I don't think, and to this day, I can barely swim.
Oh, no.
No.
I thought
I was really hoping for a different outcome.
Nope, there's no happy ending to that.
Oh, no.
I can kind of doggy paddle. I can I can move from one end to the other.
Yeah.
Like, if I need to fight for my life,
Right.
I won't immediately
You're
drown.
not going first.
Yes, exactly.
But second, maybe.
Second, very close. Yes, I still
I
don't know
feel
how to
like
swim.
Dads always joke about that. And then,
Nope. He not only joked about it, he did it. He did it. So there we
obviously it doesn't work.
Now,
go. Yes.
your sons, have they learned?
They can swim, right?
Now, I do have, let me first acknowledge that the temptation to repeat
It was there.
the generational
The generational
curse.
trauma.
No, I did not. I chose not. They did swim classes.
Okay,
and
okay.
so, yeah, they're fantastic in the
Awesome,
water.
awesome.
Yeah, way more confident they're more confident than me. Like,
Than you, yeah,
30-year difference. They're way more confident
Right. They're just
than me
out
in the
there.
water. Yeah, they're having fun.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
And you're just like, yeah, I'm going to wait here.
Yeah, cool. I'm gonna take videos for social media for mom.
Someone has to be the camera guy.
Someone has to capture the moment. You enjoy the moment, I'll capture it. So yes, nope. Still working on it. Still working.
Oh my goodness.
So if you give free lessons, let me know.
Once Israel gets through this, the classes will have them.
Exactly, because I need them. I need them still.
What about you, my love?
Oh man, I can't think. His story reminded me of a different story, but similar.
Okay.
Where I was, a young lad taking swim class lessons,
Oh, gosh.
and
Mine
so-
involves water, too. This is
Oh,
funny.
no.
Wow. Oh no.
Anyway, keep going.
The trend here.
Oh no! This is not a reinforcement of stereotypes.
Keep going.
My
So I was holding on to my little boogie board, and I'm there, and we're all like supposed to hold on the boogie board, paddle to a certain deal, and then come back. And so I'm like the last to go out and do it. So I go in, I have my little boogie board, and I'm paddling out. and I hit the turn point where I'm supposed to turn around, and the board slips from underneath it. And I've been short my whole life. So I was very small. And so they probably thought, most of the kids could make their way back. Not I. I was drowning. So I would hit the bottom and my toe would touch the bottom. I would kick up and I would kick back up again. And I would catch a breath of air. I'm like, "Ugh," and I would go back under. So I'm doing this whole deal. So I have
It's
enough
making me so sad.
deal where I can get a little bit. So I'm not actively dying, but I am not doing great. And the whole time the instructor's back is turned towards me as she's giving instructions to the next group
You're
of kids.
fired.
And my father is there. And he's just watching all of this happen. And then he steps up and says to the instructor, I think my son's drowning.
If you want
I
to
don't mean to be a bother, but
Wow. Y'all's dads are intense.
no, I was there. Well, he didn't cause it. I wasn't.
Yeah, that's true.
true.
Now, I
But he was
think
just like,
my child
can you?
fighting for his survival right now. I think I've built very strong toes.
Okay.
Just
Yeah.
trying not, you don't want to go all the how as soon as I touch the bottom, how can I propel myself back
of
up
course, yeah.
to feel like I'm tall enough for this water?
Mm.
I built up some strong toe muscles, I think, over the years of trying to stay afloat.
Wow.
But I have
Okay, well,
learned.
mine's not in a pool, but it was in a bathtub.
Oh no.
So, my brother and I are only 2 years apart, so we used to take baths together.
Mhm.
And I have a vague memory. I'm just gonna make it short. Basically, there was a cup in the water. We would play with it. It was given to me to drink. It was not water.
Oh, whoa.
Yeah, my brother peed in a cup and then he gave it to me to drink it. He was probably like 6. I don't know. Five, 6.
I was not expecting
Yeah,
it
that's
to
a
go.
wild turn. I didn't know where this is going.
That's-
Teacup was not. That
I was like, yeah,
that was not on
you're
my
in bath water, so it was like, oh, it's warm. And I was like, nope, that's not
Oh
water.
my gosh.
Oh,
That was not
no.
on my trivia
Yeah.
cards for today.
Oh no.
He got in trouble, obviously, but
Yeah, we think now I'm
didn't
worried.
trust him. On a serious note. Okay, so would you say there is, and if there is, what is it? The difference between faith and trust.
I feel like they feel incredibly connected, right? There is definitely a correlation between the two. But I would say I think there is a slight difference between faith and trust, where faith, to me, when I think about it, feels more of like a long-term encompassing thing,
Hmm.
like a bigger picture, long-term type of thing. And trust can correlate more to like a momentary aspect. So, like, I can trust God with a thing, but I put my faith of like, which is like the determining of the whole outcome of something in the Lord, if that makes sense.
Hmm.
So I'm saying like I have faith in God, but then I also want to make sure I'm trusting God in each step. So the run is, and that, you guys can say anything you want. That don't be holding. I'm not trying to set the tone, but when I think about it, that's kind of the way I typically break it down, as being like, oh, there's like a momentary thing of like trust, but like the whole totality thing comes in a package of faith.
I think I agree with that. I at least an image that came to mind is like, is trust the launch pad to faith?
Mm.
Or it's like,
Yeah.
it's the step that surrounds a lifestyle, or those, as you kind of said, like periods of faith.
Yeah.
Like, it does take trust to say, I'm going to believe in something that I
Yeah.
don't see. I'm
Yeah.
going to hope for something. Like, that is a response out of trust.
Yeah.
And maybe trust is what helps sustain faith.
Yeah.
Maybe
Yeah.
like, I feel like it. What you're saying, it is integrated throughout a faith journey.
Right.
I don't know if you can have real faith without trust.
Oh yeah.
Well, I was just thinking of where in the Bible says faith is.
Let's go to that book.
And this is the Amplified Version of Hebrews 11. Now faith is the assurance, the confirmation, the title deed of the things we hope for, being the proof of things we do not see and the conviction of their reality. Faith perceiving as real fact what is not revealed to the senses. That doesn't feel like trust. You know, I feel like trust feels more like you were saying, like it can be ascribed to like people or whatever. But faith feels like you were saying, like a lot bigger, like perceiving as real fact what is not revealed to the senses. Like I feel like I put my trust in somebody, but I can have faith that because of God's character in this way, like I almost said I can trust him in this way, that what I don't see with my eyes
I see what you're saying.
is the reality. And that's different than trust. Like
Yes.
I trust my friend because of what they've shown me and I know they love me. But like
yes.
faith is like I see something in the spiritual that's not actually there.
Yeah.
Faith or trust exists because of something that's been proven.
Mhm.
Right.
And faith exists even when it has not been proven.
Yeah.
yet.
And so
Yeah.
we trust in the character of God because we've seen that proven
Mhm.
over time. But we still have faith in God because of who God is,
Yeah.
outside of the stories of God.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
because God is God,
Mm,
faith
mm.
goes there.
I wonder if it kind of seems like trust is like the past, like what I've seen, and faith is
Mm.
like what I can't see.
Oh yeah.
I like that. I love that. Yes.
Because if I trust somebody, it's because of something they've done or they've said.
Yeah.
Like I wouldn't trust somebody I haven't seen them prove to me. Like if I don't know you, I don't trust you because
Right.
in the past you haven't shown me anything.
Right. I don't
But I
have
have
anything.
faith in God.
Yeah.
We were saying we trust God, but then sometimes we don't.
Mhm.
Why, even though we say we know the character of God, why do you think it's hard for people to trust God sometimes?
Two things that come to mind for me are either we are operating with shame or like we feel shame,
Mhm.
or we're comparing God to some human.
Mhm.
Like comparing and shame, I think, are two things that get in the way of us trusting God. We feel unworthy to even believe,
Mhm.
or that somehow, how can I say I trust when whatever those things are that we think are the preventer of us actually being able to step into a place of trust. And maybe, shame. And then comparing, whether that is a father who threw you in a pool or a brother who peed in the bathtub. Like, there was a time where I felt disappointment.
Yeah.
Whether that, and somehow I connected that to God's
Mhm.
nature
Right.
versus what it actually was.
Yeah.
No, a
Yeah.
human's failing, not God's failing.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's hard. It's like you asked, like, well, if this is what I've experienced in my life, why would it be different with God? And it's like,
Yes.
well,
Yeah.
because he's not human,
Right.
which is hard for our brains probably to.
But I also
separate.
think there's like that idea of just like having disappointment with something that you thought,
Oh,
Like-
yeah.
like an outcome I thought God was going to move one way in.
Mhm.
And I was assured in my mind that like this was going to be the way that he was going to move.
Mhm.
And the way that it ended up happening was a result that was different
Mhm.
than what was expected. And it's just like, okay, well, how do I like I felt confident
Mhm.
that like this is true to your nature and that didn't go that way. That can shake someone's ability just to be like, well, I'm just ready to give you everything again because you're like, well, it just didn't work out. It felt like I was not experiencing the thing that I know
Yeah.
about God.
Yeah. And kind of what we said a second ago, how trust, can definitely be built on what we do know and what we've experienced. But like it also requires humility, kind of what Proverbs 3:5-7 calls out. Like trust in the Lord with all your heart and do not lean on your own understanding.
Yeah.
It's like the more we can understand God, the more we can almost depend on what we currently understand, and on some level limit our understanding of what he can even do, and to like the humility it takes to say, well, okay, I know God has done it this way, or I understand this part of his nature, but you might even say, I know Pastor Tiffany will love to say it this way, like, how do we remain open to God's wonder? Like that requires trust.
Yeah.
That extends beyond what I currently understand.
Yeah.
I can recognize how that's been tough.
Yeah.
For me, when you feel disappointed or what you thought was going to happen based on what I know about God's nature or what I believe he has said. And then to like, as the verse continues, like in all your ways, acknowledge him and he will make your path straight. And so then they even say, even though I thought I understood, I can still believe and trust that God will make it all work together for good. Sometimes easier said than done. It feels. In the moment, at least.
Yeah.
In the moment, at least.
Yeah, it's like sometimes it's like either like sometimes I feel like I go to either like there's something I don't know. That's why this has happened this way, because I know God's character. So there's something I don't know about his plan for this situation.
I think that with the idea of like faith and trust is like they feel definitely connected, where like faith can help you, like your faith will enable you to be able to trust God more in times where, like, even when you're describing it, things unseen, like things that you haven't yet experienced yet, is the idea of faith. So when you have an experience that has led you, I feel like it's like two halves of a coin. You had an experience that led you not to want to trust God. Faith is a thing that would enable you to be like, it doesn't make sense for me to want to trust God in this way, but my faith pulls me to continue to want to trust. And then trust is a thing of saying like, oh, like I've seen God do these things for other people. I've seen the character of God throughout the documents of the Bible or through testimonials that other people have shared. And that continues to spur on not just trusting God, but it encourages my faith of being like, we've seen and heard of the times where he was faithful. And I know he is trustworthy. And now I know like that's where I want to put the all-encompassing things of the things where I do not know, where I don't have answers for, like that he is worthy and capable of handling all those things as well.
Okay.
So we kind of already half answered this, but is there a correlation between your faith in God and your trust in people?
I feel like the answer I want to say and the answer that I think is biblically correct are not.
What's biblically correct?
I feel like what it seems to me, what scripture would line up is that there is a correlation of being able to trust people, but not in a way that's foolish, right? Where it talks about being wise as serpents. So there is this idea of not being just like foolish with it, but I think there is this idea of like vulnerability and openness and trusting that Jesus demonstrates throughout his life that is difficult to ignore and just be like, protect yourself, protect your neck. Like, you know what I mean? Like it can't be on that type of mode. Like we have to be open and trusting with people. And in that aspect, like it shows that in the fact of the way we trust people, it's not just about the person, because the totality of my faith is still in God. So because I know my faith is in God, it makes me more open to trusting people because they aren't the arbiter or carrier of the ship.
Yeah, I have told people that I'm talking to about leadership that with my team, I give them my trust and they earn my mistrust. And I think there's comfort in that because I can always put up boundaries.
Mm.
Or I can always, oh, this is who you are. And I can change or separate or whatever. But with God, it requires constant openness, vulnerability. And that can at times, that's discomfort
Yeah.
at times. It requires to go against maybe what we might naturally initially feel. And so, like, when I had that thought, immediately I felt bad. It's like, what I'm really saying is it could be easier for me to initially trust people,
Mm.
maybe, and then as God is calling me to do something,
Mhm.
or as God is showing me something new or
Yeah.
stretching my faith, can I still easily choose to trust?
Yeah.
So more so, if anything, I'm just calling myself out as like, all right, Stephen, let's really look at this. Like, have you chosen to control or limit or on some level feel like you have to protect the amount of what you can really be vulnerable and trust God versus how you treat people around you?
Yeah.
Because that's obviously the exact opposite of where I would want to be if
Yeah.
I truly want to discover all of who God is.
Yeah.
I'll put myself in a place to just ultimate surrender,
Mhm.
ultimate trust. So yeah, that's I have some things to to discuss and think about.
Mhm.
But definitely, I think what you're kind of alluding to, I think as well, is just though faith is a different ball game with people.
Mm.
Because, and you might have said this, so forgive me for repeating it. It's like I might trust someone, but I don't put my faith
Right.
in,
Yeah.
in them.
Yeah.
Like what do they ultimately control?
Right.
Mhm.
Right. And I know that there's a biblical perspective for that. So yes, I can confess that I have some work to do to
Oh,
ensure that
Same.
daily I'm actually trusting God. I'm not leaning on what I understood about him yesterday. I'm accepting his invitation to trust him in a new way today.
Yeah.
And that I'm also understanding that I can have ultimate faith in him because
Yeah.
he's in control. So he is in control.
Yeah. To me, it feels like, there's a cultural thing of like right now of like people being like boundaries
Mm.
and like
Yeah.
really emphasizing that deal. And I think that boundaries are healthy
Mhm.
to an extent,
Mm-hmm.
but I feel like we need to make sure we're being wary of an overcorrection
Yes.
to where we're not even just being boundaries, but we're just fencing ourselves off. And it isn't just being like, well, this is a place where I know where I'm not setting someone up for failure, right? Because I feel you should
Mhm.
be able to trust people, but there's no sense of setting someone up for a deal where it's clear that they're not going to be able to handle,
Mhm.
but it shouldn't generate from a place that starts with mistrust. Like we want it to generate from a place that kind of starts with a place of trust
Mhm.
of like, hey, I want to trust you and I can trust you with this deal. And I think, there have been different studies that have kind of shown that like when someone feels trusted, their response in that moment is going to rise to the occasion of what you're doing. But if they just feel mistrust, then they're going to regress and then kind of operate from that standpoint as well.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Yes. I want to throw another thought out there that maybe is a slight digress. I heard this a couple years ago, and I've gone to think about it some and read about it some, and it's more so just in the lane of faithfulness.
Mm.
Like I heard John Bevere allude, or he wrote a whole book on it. It was called X, but the concept of it was how there's no faithfulness without multiplication.
Mm.
And his thesis, if you will, was based off of the servant with the talents, which we hear talked about.
Yeah.
And the servant at the end is told, because of your faithfulness, you come and enter into all the things that the master has.
Yeah.
But his faithfulness was choosing to trust that if I invest this, it will actually multiply. And how on some level, if there's true faithfulness that exists, what you're working towards will have some level of multiplication. And I've thought about that, and I like to hear maybe if you guys have even thoughts on that, because it's, maybe how you measure multiplication with some things,
Right.
it may not be quantifiable, I guess. But that's hearing whenever he expressed that thought, it always, like, it made me really pause, because besides him, I've never really heard that parable presented in that way.
Yeah.
It's always talking about
Your
the
talents and your
tithe.
giftings. and
Yes, our
just-
talents and our giftings, which, I mean, there's a truth to
Right,
that
right,
there.
right.
But like, even more so, maybe when we think about the things we've been given with our kids, or just our walk with God, or whatever those other elements are, those things that can have a longer impact or true impact. Like, how are we producing multiplication within those things in our marriage,
Yeah.
in those relationships? I don't know. Any thoughts? I know that's a slow digress.
I think that's an interesting concept, that like, how can you, basically, I think what I'm taking is like, how can you show that you're faithful if like what you have been given doesn't increase?
Mhm.
Is that what you mean?
Yeah, on some level. Well, faith without works is dead.
Yeah.
On some level, like,
Right.
if there is on some level some work that has to be done, and if it's true faithful work, then it will improve or increase. I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, I think it feels like that all of the fundamentals are biblically grounded in that, of
Mhm.
like, God is a God of multiplication, of increase, of expansion,
Mm-hmm.
and in that way. And if you have faith in something, then you're going to take the actions of trusting him in different ways.
Mhm.
And then that trust in him isn't going to be something that will just affect you,
Mm-hmm.
right? It's going to be something that's going to affect people around you, and that will continue to expand and reverberate with different people in a
Yeah.
way that's going to shake up and change the way that they're also operating in.
Mm-hmm.
Think an example just from a praise and worship standpoint, where someone who's leading a congregation in a song, I think of Tiffany all the time when she does this, and she'll stop and take a moment to press in on a moment where she's maybe prophesying for a particular person.
Mm-hmm.
But that prophecy that's happening for one person still raises a spiritual atmosphere in the room.
Mm-hmm.
And so even though the prophecy may not be for everyone in the room, the fact that the spirit of prophecy is being released and active increases the spiritual activity in the room, and everyone is benefiting. Tide raises all boats. A high tide raises all boats. Is that what? High tide?
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. That's a high tide.
A high tide raises all boats. I feel like that's the same.
If not, it's not.
I like. Yeah, it makes sense. I'm with it.
But yeah. What do you think, love?
I feel like, I don't know if I'm just trying to tie it back into the other question, or
No.
but I guess keep going back to, I mentioned in service one time, like the scarcity versus abundance mentality. And I just feel like having faith in God means having an abundance mentality. Not that like God's going to give me all the money in the world, but that there
Right.
is always enough good
Yeah.
in available to me,
mhm.
because my faith is in God. So I feel like that translates into not being foolish, like you're saying, but trusting others unless God, prompts you to feel like, basically, I trust people probably too much. And like, there's rare occasions when I like walk into a room and I'm like, I don't know about you. Like, really rare. Most of the time I'm just like, hi, hello, let me tell you my whole life story. I don't know. But I just feel like part of it comes from that abundance of like, I feel like if I am truly trusting in God, I don't need to be afraid with myself.
Yeah.
Like giving away
Yeah.
myself,
Yeah.
because God
Yes.
will always replenish whatever I'm giving out.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. I think there's just, in my mind, I feel like that is, I don't know if it's hard. It's just like, oh, I'm just too generous. Unless it's coming from a place that is like, you're doing it to appease people and not out of like the compassion that God has put in you. Like, the idea of like that thing isn't, trusting people is inherently good. And we want to make sure we're moving with the compassion of Christ in those moments to make sure that we're staying in his alignment of how he wants that trust to manifest to someone.
Mhm.
And I feel like that's kind of, you know what I mean? What you're saying is in that same way. I've been like, how I want to trust this person and I should be trusting this person. Now, how is the best way for me to do that so that it is both nourishing for them
Mhm.
and flourishing for the relationship?
Yes. Flourishing. I like that. Because, when trust exists in a relationship, there's freedom. That
Yeah.
also exists.
It was on vibrate. I don't know why it made noise.
Wake up! Yeah. I like that. And maybe to Karen's point, that is true too. Like, the more we have ultimate trust in God, that does free us up from shame,
Yeah.
from embarrassment,
Yeah.
from feeling like we have to hide a part of ourselves because like we're fully nestled within who God is. So we
Yeah.
have ultimate trust and we can walk in freedom and confidence in who we are.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's good. I like that.
Yeah. I want to grow in that aspect. I feel like that is not
Yes.
my biggest strength.
And that's why we're married.
That is, it is something that I've
Yes.
been growing in and trying to be like, okay, like, is my trust in myself or is my trust in God? Because if I trust God and my faith is in God, then putting trust in people is going to be okay. Like, because I know the big thing is with God. So now I'm like, okay, He has me. Do I really play?
Yeah.
Where's my
But
faith
is it
really?
like, am I really putting my trust in this person at all? Or if am I just listening to the Holy Spirit, I'm just trusting God and I'm being obedient.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes.
But I mean, like in serious relationship, like I do trust Andy. You know, like there
Right.
are times where I need to be able to trust somebody, but like, I don't know. In a scary situation where God's telling you to do something, you're not actually trusting the person to do whatever. You're just trusting God.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's
I think
good.
I think it's one of those like Jewish answers was like yes and. You know what I mean? It's the opposing dichotomy isn't just like this sort of that one of those. So it's like I love that idea and that theology that they kind of come to where it doesn't have to be like this or that, where it's just like
correct.
These things can be working harmoniously together in a way that we don't quite understand, but it's like, oh yeah, this is true. Oh, what about this thing? Yes.
Also true.
Also,
Correct. I love it.
Yeah, that was good. It's good to be back after pregnancy and birth and yeah.
All the things.
Well, we hope you enjoyed this conversation as much as we did. And if you'd like to contribute or ask a question or have a comment, you can comment or question below or email us at info@hillcitynow.com. And we just want to remind you to be a city on a hill and never hide. Peace.